Life Stories. Subscribe now to begin today's powerful journey. What would you do if the person you loved most betrayed you and the world thought you were a nobody? In today's story, a man hides his billion-dollar identity to protect his marriage, only to uncover lies, infidelity, and a dangerous conspiracy that threatens everything he's built. But from the ashes of betrayal, he rises, not with anger, but with purpose. This is a tale of deception, resilience, and redemption. Subscribe to Life Stories to begin today's story, one that proves real power isn't in revenge, but in rebuilding what matters most. I remember the night everything started to shift, sitting alone in my office while the city slept. The soft hum of servers and the flickering fluorescent lights cast long shadows across the walls. It was just me and 12 lines of code that would either make or break the future of Novatech Systems, a billion-dollar empire that, until now, existed in silence. Most people knew me as Ethan Cole, an ordinary IT consultant making 75 grand a year. That's what I told my wife, Lauren. What the world didn't know was that I had founded Novatech 5 years ago. The company had grown into a global quantum computing powerhouse, changing the rules of everything from medicine to encryption. But to everyone outside the inner circle, I didn't exist. The name on the press releases, the face at the conferences, that was Nathan Grant, my CEO and longtime friend. He took the spotlight while I pulled the strings from behind a veil of anonymity. At first, I thought I was protecting myself. Later, I realized I was protecting my heart. Lauren didn't always question my drive. When we first met, she was fascinated by my vision, by the fire in my eyes when I spoke about what quantum technology could do for the world. But that wonder faded. After 3 years of marriage, she began to resent the long nights, the endless meetings. She wanted vacations, dinner parties, a slower pace of life. And I couldn't walk away from the mission, so I lied. I told her I took a pay cut and shifted to a cushy, low-stress role at some faceless firm. She seemed relieved. For a while it worked. I maintained the illusion, a modest suburban home in Illinois, casual clothing, quiet weekends, all while leading one of the most advanced tech firms in the world. Only my executive team knew the truth, but lies rot everything they touch. Lauren started working part-time at a high-end restaurant downtown, saying she missed having something of her own. I didn't question it, not at first. Then came the late nights, the missed calls, the quiet, simmering contempt whenever I talked about my boring job. I noticed the distance, the little things, how she stopped meeting my eyes, how she sighed more than she smiled. And then one night, standing in our kitchen with a plate of cold food in the microwave and a sticky note that read, "Waited until 10, went to bed." I knew. My gut had been whispering it for weeks, but that night it finally screamed. I opened the folder labeled L on my encrypted phone. Inside, 6 months worth of data, screenshots, call logs, GPS locations, evidence, not just of distance or discomfort, but betrayal. Late night calls to the same number, messages sent during her so-called yoga classes, even images my private security team had followed her discreetly. Her lover was named Ryan Blake, tall, polished, a restaurant owner who charmed patrons with a smile. He'd hired Lauren for fun. I knew then I had lost her long before she ever touched him. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Something inside me still hoped, maybe even prayed, that I was wrong, that the numbers and timelines and grainy images told a different story. But then Thanksgiving came. We were at her mother's estate in Connecticut, a colonial-style monument to generational wealth and quiet judgment. I had taken time off from my consulting job. Lauren's mother, Veronica, greeted me with the same half-hearted air kiss she always did, one that said you'll never be enough. At dinner, between sips of her martini, she turned to me with a smirk and asked if I was still doing that IT thing. I nodded, played along, but then came the moment that gutted me. She laughed and called my salary pathetic. And Lauren, she just nodded, silently, subtly, but she nodded. In that second, I felt something inside me die. A trust I'd built with trembling hands over years. It didn't matter that I was worth billions, that I was changing the world. To her, I was less of a man than her ex-boyfriend, the surgeon, or her mother's fantasy of a wealthy heir. So I stood, calmly, deliberately, and I told the truth. I told them I was the founder and chairman of Novatech Systems, that the merger making headlines, the one pushing us past a $50 billion valuation, was mine. I pulled out my ID badge. I placed it beside my wine glass. Then I placed an envelope on the table. Inside, divorce papers, evidence of Lauren's affair, proof of Ryan Blake's involvement. Her face went pale. Veronica choked on her words. I simply said, I wanted to know if you loved me for who I was or what I could buy you. Then I walked out. I didn't look back. Not because I didn't care, but because that night I finally understood. Love without truth is just performance. And I'd been acting in someone else's play far too long. After that Thanksgiving dinner, everything fractured. Quietly at first, like hairline cracks in glass. But over the weeks that followed, those fractures deepened into chasms. The headlines came swiftly, starting as whispers on social media, then erupting into full-blown scandal. Novatech founder accused of harassment, anonymous sources claim financial misconduct, stock manipulation under investigation. I knew where it was coming from. Lauren and Ryan weren't just licking their wounds, they were mounting an offensive, and they weren't working alone. They had help, professional help. The strategy was familiar: destroy the man to claim the empire. I wasn't surprised when I learned they were working with Olivia Rhodes, a notorious reputation specialist known for demolishing CEOs in the court of public opinion. It was no coincidence that these allegations appeared just days after I'd revealed my identity. But I didn't panic. I had contingency plans. Phantom Protocol was one of them. A quiet system of counters and protections I had built years ago, designed not for war but for survival. I activated immediately. My head of security, Colin Shaw, updated me daily. He tracked every move Lauren, Ryan, and their circle made. He intercepted communications, pulled financials, found inconsistencies. The most painful betrayal came not from Lauren, but from someone I once considered family. Nathan Grant, my longtime friend and the public face of Novatech. Colin uncovered encrypted messages and secret meetings between Nathan and Ryan, financial transfers, strange real estate acquisitions around government tech hubs. And then, worse, Danielle's affair with Ryan wasn't the only one. There were signs, subtle at first, then undeniable, that Nathan and Lauren had a relationship of their own. Not just professional, not just convenient. It nearly brought me to my knees. I'd spent nearly a decade building Novatech in silence, not for recognition, but because I believed technology could lift humanity. We weren't just another startup. We were rewriting the future. But now, the people I trusted most were turning that legacy into a weapon. Then Lauren called me. I almost didn't answer. Her voice was cautious, softer than I expected. She asked to meet, alone. At first I thought it was a trap, but something in her tone, maybe desperation or regret, made me agree. We met at a botanical garden near the edge of the city. The place was cold, hushed by winter. Lauren looked different, tired, raw. She told me she'd overheard Nathan threatening Ryan. That whatever they were doing, it was bigger than revenge, bigger than me. He doesn't just want your company, she said. He wants control of everything. She gave me a USB drive, evidence, emails, recordings, fake documents Nathan had used to manipulate her. And then she said the one thing I never expected: I don't want to see you dead. That's when I knew this wasn't just about betrayal or business anymore. It was a war, and someone had just given me the first real weapon to fight back. There's a moment, right before the storm hits, where the air goes still, unnaturally quiet. That's how it felt driving to the data facility outside Denver. The final piece was in motion. Lauren's USB drive confirmed my worst fears. Novatech's quantum system, the same one we built to change the world, was being repurposed behind my back. Nathan Grant, my so-called friend, wasn't just selling us out to intelligence agencies. He was preparing to weaponize the technology. The whispers about complete information dominance, the encrypted files showing foreign interest, the recordings of Nathan talking about permanent resolution, they weren't just threats, they were plans. They needed me out of the way to activate it. My biometrics, retina, voice, and palm scan were required to override the ethical constraints I'd coded into the architecture years ago. That's why they hadn't just destroyed me with scandals. They needed me alive, accessible, contained. But if they wanted a fight, I would give them one. I initiated Phoenix Protocol, a nuclear option designed to permanently shut down our quantum system and rebuild it from scratch. Not destroy it, but neutralize it. Strip it of any ability to be misused. 3 teams, 3 nodes, Denver, Seattle, Austin. Each of us had to trigger the sequence within 5 minutes. Any delay, and the system would reject the reset. It was a final line in the sand. Just as I was entering my final authorization, the elevator doors opened, and there stood Nathan. Pale, gaunt from the cancer treatments he'd hidden for months, but still carrying that unnerving calm. "You don't understand," he said, stepping toward me, flanked by 2 armed men. "We could secure America's future. We could own it." I didn't move. At the cost of every citizen's privacy? Of freedom? "You're thinking like a scientist, not a survivor," he snapped. "You think the world runs on ethics? It runs on control." My comms crackled. "Standing by," Maya Patel said from Seattle. "Austin team ready," came Derek's voice. Nathan raised a hand. "Tell them to stand down. We can fix this, Ethan." "No," I said. I slammed my palm onto the scanner. Phoenix Protocol initiated. Lights dimmed. The room's hum shifted pitch as core systems shut down. Screens flickered. Quantum nodes blinked out, one by one. Across the country, my team had followed through. Nathan stood motionless, watching everything he tried to hijack vanish. "You're a fool," he whispered. "No," I said. "I'm free." The fallout came fast. Nathan was arrested the next morning, charges ranging from corporate espionage to conspiracy. His military contacts vanished. The government retreated, quietly embarrassed. 6 months later, Novatech reopened its new headquarters, leaner, smarter, cleaner. I stepped down as CEO, handing the reins to Maya, and returned to the lab, where I belonged. Lauren came to see me once, asking for Novatech's support on a tech ethics foundation she'd started. She looked different, steadier. I said I'd consider it. I meant it. Because real revenge isn't destruction. It's building something better in spite of what they tried to take. This was never just about a company. It was about who I chose to become when everything fell apart. And I chose truth. I chose purpose. I chose peace. In the end, the story wasn't really about betrayal, power, or revenge. It was about clarity, about learning who truly stands with you when the spotlight fades and the illusions fall away. I had spent years hiding behind a mask, not just from the world, but from the people I loved. And when that mask finally cracked, it revealed more than just secrets. It revealed strength, purpose, and truth. Lauren's betrayal hurt, yes. So did Nathan's. But both taught me that trust isn't a guarantee. It's earned, tested, and sometimes lost. And while I'll never forget what they did, I also won't let it define me. Because moving forward isn't about forgetting the past. It's about growing beyond it. Novatech is still standing, stronger than ever. But more importantly, its mission is intact. Technology designed to serve people, not control them. That vision has never felt more urgent. As for me, I've found peace in the quiet again. Not the silence of hiding, but the silence of knowing who I am and what I stand for. I still spend long nights in the lab, chasing breakthroughs, dreaming of what comes next. But now I do it with open eyes and an open heart. If there's one thing I hope you take from this story, it's this. Your worth isn't measured by what the world sees. It's defined by what you choose to protect when no one's watching. Thanks for spending your time with me today. If you found this story meaningful, subscribe to the Life Stories channel for more powerful emotional journeys like this one. Click the bell so you never miss a new video. Until next time, take care of yourself and never stop fighting for what truly matters.